Welcome to The Investor, a podcast where I, Joel Palafinkel, your host, dives deep into the minds of the world's most influential institutional investors. In each episode, we sit down with an investor to hear about their journeys and how global markets are driving capital allocation. So join us on this journey as we explore these insights. So we are live with Bruce Hamilton from MechVentures. So Bruce is a new friend, and I aspire to be him in some instances because of his music background and his focus on culture. So just really privileged to have you here, and appreciate the friendship, Bruce. And it's really cool that you're connected to so many successful people, and excited to hear about your stories. So let's just kick it off. Let's just run through your background, your career, your influences in culture, and that's kind of and tell us how that's kind of influenced your pathway into investing as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll start. I'm Bruce Hamilton. I'm one of the co-founders and general partners at MechVentures. We're an early stage venture capital firm investing in the future of pop culture. But really what we mean by that is we're just investing in companies, consumer-focused companies that affect how people live their personal and work lives. So, for us, that means for us, that means it's really just like how people interact with the world, or how people work, or how you consume sports, or you consume content, or you listen to music, or connect with friends. Like, all of it's connected in one way. And so we just want to focus on that. But how I got to this path is I started my career in the music industry. So I started out doing social media at Live Nation, then moved over to Sony Music, where I was an A&R at Epic Records, worked with artists like Travis Scott, Fifth Harmony, Mary J. Blige, and then ran a talent management company called Samurai for a few years. So we were managing artists, songwriters, and producers. Then just decided to do a complete 180 shift around 2016, 2017, and went into tech. Launched 2 startups. And then after successfully exiting my last one, I decided I was trying to figure out what the next phase of my career would be. And then after talking to a couple of startups that wanted me to kind of join in like a marketing branding capacity, as a creative, I sat back and I was like, well, I really want to dive into like several of my passions. I want to do so many different things, but I just didn't want to be bound to like one startup. And so a light bulb kind of clicked. It was like, oh, well, venture capital is kind of like the next evolution of your career. But I wanted to come at like a very unique angle. I wanted to kind of bring my music industry experience into venture capital, because I think the business model is exactly the same as like working at a label. If you're an A&R record label, you're going out, you're finding talent, believing in that talent and their teams, investing in them and helping them scale and become big artists. And I think that applies to venture capital, where you're going out, you're finding early stage startups, believing in those teams, investing in them. And then once after you invest in them, help them scale the best you can, or just with your strong suits. So but going back to what I was previously saying, I just wanted to come from a very unique lens. And so I realized in the space, nobody was looking at investments from a pop culture perspective. And for me, pop culture evolves technology and vice versa. And so we really wanted to come with that angle of just like, let's invest in companies that really just enhances the quality of life for people. And so for us, pop culture means far more than just music, entertainment, or sports. Pop culture is really just how we live our everyday lives, and how can we connect people of all walks of life on one common level. And so that's something that's very important to us at Mech, is to be inclusive and making sure that everything that we invest in, really the main goal is to connect everyone, just to create like a brighter future.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, and I think it's a unique lens that you're coming from. I think the audience would also appreciate just more insight into your previous life too. So your industry, you work with some really big names like Travis Scott. So are there any just learnings that you had working with such successful artists, and maybe just kind of observations on the industry, how it's evolved. And then there's just, I mean, there's some controversial things that like, I don't know if we're going to get in trouble talking about, but I mean, there's just, rumors about like, people being in like these secret societies and all that. And I probably it's stuff that just pops up in my TikTok feed, but there's kind of like the whole community in Hollywood, and then there's also the entertainment community. So any just kind of learnings working with those people, and then just kind of maybe just insights into the industry that you've observed.
I mean, definitely the main things I learned in that industry is how to deal with creatives.
Mm-hmm.
Creatives have a very different mindset and
Yeah.
sensibility than everyone else. Obviously, creatives are sharing art from that they've created in their minds and their hearts, and like to put it out to the world. That for them, it's the equivalent of like showing your card, showing your heart to the world. Like you're really
Mm-hmm.
sharing your art. And so you kind of have to deal with them in a very different way, and it takes some getting used to, especially if you're coming from a business perspective. And like one of the things about being an A&R is having that unique ability, because essentially as an A&R, you are a liaison between the record label and the artist. And
Mm-hmm.
so you kind of have to tread both lines of dealing with the creative, but also dealing with the label and kind of helping
Mm-hmm.
them satisfy what they need. And so you kind of have to find that middle ground.
Yeah.
And that
And
was
I
that
would
was a really
say,
cool learning for me, is
yeah, I
really
was gonna
dealing
say
with
I wanted to like just call something out too. So I guess for the audience, everybody probably already knows this, but for the audience members that don't, like A&R, I believe stands for artist and repertoire, right?
correct.
Yeah. So I kind of see a parallel with being an A&R and maybe being a seed investor, because you're kind of sourcing, aren't you kind of sourcing talent and saying, hey, this is going to be the next Michael Jackson or the next, Tupac or whatever. And that may be kind of similar to like a seed company. Hey, this is going to be the next Uber. Like, did you kind of see some parallels, later on when you got into investing? It's like, wow, this is the same thing. I have to source almost like a deal or a talent.
It's exactly the same thing. Like I tell people all the
That's
time
hilarious.
that VCs are essentially A&Rs of tech,
Yeah.
but it's the exact same business model, it's just different
Yeah.
players.
Mm-hmm.
VCs are record labels, early stage companies, or really just any companies they're investing in. Those are the artists.
Yeah.
And it's the same model. You're going out
Mm-hmm.
and you're scouting, you're finding these deals. Hopefully you find a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you find a really hot deal, and then there's the bidding war. So everybody wants in, and you might have to pay a little bit more to get in, or the founder just has to really like you and your skill set and really believe that you can really
Mm-hmm.
help them
Yeah.
as an investor. Because
Mm-hmm.
founders are smart now. Founders are like, yeah, like we can get a check from almost anywhere, but now we want to be very strategic about where we get checks from. Let's bring on, if we're going to allocate people on our cap table, we want to make sure that they're going to be useful outside of a check.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so
No, that's
I
a.
think it's made the space very competitive in a good way.
Mm-hmm. And so how do the economics work in the labels? So they, obviously, is there an equivalent of like a carry, or I guess, how does the business model work similarly or differently than venture capital? So like your Arista Records or something, right? And you found the next Michael Jackson. There's probably some type of distribution, and so Justin Bieber sold his rights to to a couple large. I forget
Yeah,
who he sold it
hypnosis.
to, but like yeah, he sold to Hypnosis, right? So I guess how is that model being disrupted, and what are your comments around just seeing a lot of people selling the rights?
I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it myself, because I
Hmm.
think Hypnosis is going to be a massive company really soon, because
Yeah.
they're literally just buying the rights of everybody.
Hmm.
Um, it's very interesting to see, for artists, it's because that money comes in quarterly or monthly, however, what the interval is that they get this money.
Hmm.
It's nice to just get like one large upfront check.
Yeah.
But then you kind of have to balance out like it's almost like playing the lottery, right? You win
Hmm.
the lottery, and then they're
You got to
like,
pay. You got to give 50% to Uncle Sam.
yeah, they're like, you could take one lump sum now and have it all, or
Yeah.
you could will gradually get it over the course of 40 years. And so
Hmm.
I guess everyone who's selling now is like, hey, I don't know if tomorrow's promised. Let me just get this big
Yeah.
check now.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I would probably do the same thing. I'll pay, for the Mark Cuban said this, I thought was just really timely advice. But, first thing you do when you come into money, talk to your accountant first, and make sure you've, thought about taxes. And then after all that's figured out, I would just pick up a lump sum. I don't know what you would do. Would you do a lump sum, or would you take like small payments for 40 years?
Man, I mean, 40 years is a long time. I probably would just do the lump sum depending on
Yeah.
how big it is. And I guess I'd do the math and see how much tax is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
But I would probably take the lump sum. I think most
Hmm.
people would take the lump sum. I mean,
Yeah.
40 years is a very long time to like collect all that money.
Yeah. And what are your just thoughts about the industry as a whole, like the entertainment industry? Or what are some other innovations and models that you're seeing? So I think a lot of people are leveraging streaming. I posted something I think last week about the creator operator, right? So those are like two skills. If you're a creator first, you already have an audience, and then if you can be an operator and build a brand or build some type of company, we're seeing this already with Kim Kardashian launching her private equity fund, and then a lot of these creators launching these new products. They already have distribution, they already have customers and an engaged audience. But I don't know what your thoughts are around like the downsides of that. Like, I mean, I wonder if sometimes those products are not a good fit for the audience, right? Maybe it's just a flop. So I don't know if you just have any general comments in terms of how the people are, making use of content and community and being a creator.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of creator focused brands that come out.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a very easy sell because the brands already have a built-in audience,
Yeah.
so that they launch something that relates to them. That's the thing.
Hmm.
They have to figure out a product that relates to their personality, that their fans are immediately going to gravitate to,
Yeah. Hmm.
that makes sense. Like, you just can't, like, if you are known for being an athlete, you can't then just go launch like a soda. Like, it just doesn't make sense for your brand. So I think if you just create something that works for your brand, you have a built-in audience that works. The downside is you kind of live and die by your celebrity. So if something happens, say, they attempt to cancel you, that brand goes too.
Hmm.
And so that's the downside, is kind of living and dying by the celebrity. But I think you're going to see a lot of creator center brands coming out in the near future. I think that's going to be a big part of e-commerce going forward. And I'm even seeing it in the VC space now, where celebrities are investing into brands, and then kind of their leverage or their value add is then coming in to promote that brand.
Hmm. Yeah.
So definitely I've seen quite a few firms pop up that are adding that.
Yeah. We're also aware of a lot of celebrities that are launching venture funds. So, quite a bit of them. And, I guess what are your thoughts on that? Are they doing pretty well? I mean, I've seen some celebrities, they're smart. They're not active allocators, but they are smart as a business person, and they do find talent, right? I think part of being a good CEO necessarily doesn't mean to be smart and like prove to everybody that you're so sophisticated and great at doing stuff. If you're not an expert in it, a good leader is able to find somebody to actually fill those shoes, and like find somebody maybe that's a veteran in the VC space to kind of operate the fund from the day to day, sourcing, screening, and then deployment and building a team around that. But what do you think about that? I guess the celebrities kind of launching their own funds. Any observations if they're doing a good job, and I guess if they've done a good job, also just kind of finding the right talent to help them.
Yeah, I think I love it actually. I love that
Hmm.
celebrities are now turning around, making their money work for them, and
Yeah.
investing using an investment strategy that aligns with their values. And we've seen some success, some really big success. For example, I'll use Nas and Queensbridge
Oh
Ventures.
yeah.
They've had, from my understanding, when I last checked, they've had 47 exits from one
Wow.
fund. And they've invested in Pluto
Hmm.
TV, and Ring, and Coinbase, and so
Yeah.
they've had some massive exits, and that's just from one fund.
Hmm.
And I think you're going to see the same with Marcy Venture Partners. They're doing a lot of really good investing, and
Hmm.
35 Ventures, which is Kevin Durant's firm. Yeah, you're just seeing a lot of
Hmm.
really great investments coming from celebrities, and they're bringing on like really talented people. I've met.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure to connect and meet with some of the VCs on their teams, and
Hmm.
there's some of the brightest people I know that
Yeah.
100% understand the vision. So I really
And they
like
have
the space.
the ability also to possibly poach like really great talent from some of the tier one funds. I'm assuming too. It's probably like really great approach too, to kind of have the right team to really augment and elevate their brand and legacy as well.
Exactly. Yeah, they're definitely bringing in the top talent
Hmm.
because they're able to raise, a large fund rather quickly,
Yeah.
larger than most in a quicker time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really love what's happening in that space right now.
Yeah.
I
Andre
think they're going to
DeRose.
trigger a lot of innovation,
Hmm.
and just because they're seeing things from, I think they're all investing from a pop culture perspective too, and they're seeing it from a super macro level, and so they're seeing what's about to happen. Um, and they probably know, plans far more than the rest of us do, and so they're able to kind of invest ahead and get ahead of the curve.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think when you get to that level, you've built a huge network and you've got the right people to help you deploy capital efficiently. So I think that's really helpful. Maybe switching gears, we can talk about your a little deeper on kind of your beliefs in terms of the pop culture, like where that industry is heading, and also just kind of what you look for in founders. Maybe a couple common threads around just the founders that you think are going to be stellar entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, there's three
Hmm.
things I look for in a founder. But before I go into that, when you're doing early stage investing,
Hmm.
and I think most early stage VCs will tell you, you're investing more into the founder than you are the actual business or the business model,
Yeah.
because the business model is so early. And yeah, you can find some that are early that have some early traction, and we definitely have seen that have some early traction. But for the most part, you're really investing in the founder and that team. And so I look for three things. One is the main thing is it someone I can see myself working with for the next 5 to 10 years? Because you're entering into a partnership. And so just from some of those early conversations, you realize fairly quickly, like, okay, this is someone that it's going to be fairly easy to work with, give critiques to, just have conversations with over the course of the next couple of years, because you're literally entering into a partnership. Number two is, can the founders and the team learn what they don't know? Things change all the time, and so they need to kind of have their pulse on what's happening, new ideas, and be able to just pick up new ideas and integrate it into the business model. And the final thing, it's very important, is can the team pivot if they need to? And most times you're going to have to do some sort of pivot. The industry changes, or the business model that maybe you had in mind
Hmm.
just doesn't find market fit, and so you have to do a pivot. And sometimes you come across founders who, like, because it's, at the end of the day, these startups are they're like their children, like their babies. They've been cultivating this for so long, and so they're very
Hmm.
much like, it's very much like an artist who has been working on an album for a long time, but the sound has shifted and no one's really focused
Yeah.
on the sound. But they've spent so long creating it that they're like, well,
Hmm.
this is my art and I want to put it out. And so the same thing goes with founders, and just, they spend so long building this product, and so they just need to be able to pivot if they need to adopt to what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge thing. I mean, one of the sayings that I take back with me. I was working at a big company for some time, early when I was in corporate America, and there was someone that was at that company for about 20 years. And he said, look, in these 20 years, I've probably changed my job like 30 times. And, one of the biggest lessons is, the people that can change very quickly, those are the ones that are going to thrive, because you're going to have to switch gears. Maybe the business that you're in is obsolete now. So being able to kind of change and pivot and switch gears, I think is super, super important. I would say also just capital efficiency is going to be really important, in the next couple of years too, just kind of showcasing that you got good margins and you're able to scale very quickly with less. That always looks good to VCs as well. So
No, I agree. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, reinvention is the key to life. Like, don't just peg yourself into this one role that you found yourself in. Be open to reinventing yourself. And in that way, you can always experience something new. And the same goes with, your business. Like, feel free to reinvent it every now. I mean, look at, I'm probably going to butcher his name, Vimeo. Remember, they completely reinvented their business model and it changed everything for them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, Vimeo really, I think they hired a new CEO, and then I think what they did was they moved into, I forget what their model was earlier, but they moved into, I think, kind of helping people share videos like more on an enterprise level. I think that's kind of what they were doing. So you
they
could like
shifted
upload
more
videos
into
for free.
like literally like a content creator tool where you can create your own video, where before they were focusing on essentially being a direct competitor to YouTube, but just using like high definition videos. And they're like, okay, well, let's now give people the tools to create videos. And that, that changed everything for Vimeo.
What are you excited about? So like, what are some just technologies or just things that you're just really blown away about? Are you really excited about like AI and generative AI, specifically in the creator culture space? Because I feel like that could transform content creation, and it could also transform art and even culture. But that's been such a huge topic that's just been maybe played out for a little bit the last couple weeks to a month. So I don't know if like you're excited about that, or if there's just other things in the future that are more, more further away that you're fired up about.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI technology is cool, and I think it's going to help people, especially with efficiency and people that aren't really good at copywriting. Or I've seen some platforms that are now like, hey, let's use AI to create decks or create prototypes of apps, and I think it's going to help in that space and help lower the barrier of entry for creatives, so that they all don't have to be technically efficient to join the space. But I'm not like we're all hands on deck on AI, because we literally just saw this last year with Web3, where everyone was like, we're all hands on Web3. And now a lot of those people have shifted from Web3 to AI. Actually, I've been telling people this, a big space that I've been looking at is gaming and esports. I think that is still in its infancy stage. I think it's going to get really massive really soon. Like one of my big predictions is I think every major city will have its own esports arena in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
This space is going to be super massive. I think every major city will have like its own like dedicated like esports team. I just think this space, there's just so much room for innovation. So many people like really like getting into this space. I think esports is going to be huge.
So gaming is and I learned this from talking to an institutional investor. Gaming is very rich in cash in general. So the margins I think are great. So a lot of those gaming conglomerates are definitely sitting on free cash flow. So that opens up opportunities to either reinvest or maybe manage their allocations better. So maybe switching gears, talking about one step further, instead of the celebrities and the people in culture launching funds, how have they been thinking about generational wealth. I've been seeing like Tiffany Haddish talk about that. And, that's something that I've been noticing in the last few years. A lot of artists really thinking about their legacy and generational wealth. I also had Andrew Jarus, who, has worked with Kevin Hart, and he supported a lot. I don't know if you know Andrew from Heartbeat, but, a lot of these artists are not only just thinking about, hey, how can I 10x my return or actually get a quick buck, but how can I maintain my legacy? A lot of them do have kids, so they're thinking about, essentially forming a family office. They have kids, and those kids are going to be the G2s. So how are they, going to pass those best practices and motivate the kids to also just carry that on? I had a really interesting discussion the last few weeks with a couple family offices, and what the common thread is G1 is really the original business person. That's the person that actually created the business and the actual conglomerate. And then there's times where like G2, like the kids, they really screw it up. They squander the money. And then G3, sometimes like they have to do a reset. And like the company, if they don't reset and reinvent the company is going to go under. So you see some hunger in like G3. That's what I've observed, but I'd love to hear your perspective because you're tighter with that community and you're probably hearing a lot more insights around how these people are thinking about like eventually, asset allocation at a larger scale.
Yeah, and I think it all starts with them all creating VC firms right now.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's been talking for years about, we got to create generational wealth, but I think now everyone has kind of figured out investing and having your money work for you is really how you create generational wealth. And so it starts with, I think I would say we're now looking at G1 of everyone's now starting the venture capital firms.
Yeah.
And then G2 is like what their kids do with the money that has been generated from that. And I would say probably G2 will probably start like the family offices. Or I wouldn't be shocked if like, I'm not sure if Jay-Z has a family office, but I wouldn't be surprised down the road you'll hear a formal announcement that, the Carters have a family office.
Yeah.
But I think we need more of that because family offices aren't the easiest to get a hold of, and it's almost looked at as its own like exclusive community. So I think you're gonna see a lot of family offices start probably within the next like 10 years or so.
Yeah.
From people that you may not have seen it coming from.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I really like that it's all starting with the funds that are being created now. I think the success of these funds will create family offices, a lot of them.
Yeah. But this is still, in my mind, I've obviously, not been that plugged into the community, but in my mind, I felt like this is kind of an emerging opportunity that's probably came up in the last maybe 5 to 7 years. I don't know in the past what, musicians did. I think they just hired a financial advisor. And I think some of them definitely got crushed with fees and hidden costs and probably lost a lot of money. But I think, would you agree that was the pathway before? Like, these people would just put their money in with a money manager. And then now it's kind of like with a lot of the resources and us being in the information age, a lot of that information is available with advisors that you trust or word of mouth. And you can, a lot of us that started our own firms, we found a lot of great content on Twitter and on Google as well. So do you think like the dispersion of information has helped a lot of people be empowered to kind of build their own firms and their own franchises versus kind of like put our money with a financial manager?
Yeah, 100%. Information is power, and that's why you're seeing all of these new firms pop up because the information is accessible. Like I would say for me and Mac Conwell, the information he was putting out there, we wouldn't have known how to start a fund without Mac doing his 20 VC interview. Like he literally gave you the blueprint. And that 20-minute podcast, he gave you the blueprint on how to start a fund. And so if you're looking to start a fund, go listen to that podcast. In 20 minutes, you'll know how to launch a fund from there, courtesy of Mac. Shout out to Mac, by the way. He's such a great guy. but no, before how it would go is, since the information wasn't there, and so it was kind of held tight. So celebrities or musicians would just you rely on their business manager, their financial
Hmm.
manager. But what would end up happening, unfortunately, the financial manager, business manager would just take advantage.
Yeah,
They would either,
that's what I
make
assume.
really bad investments, or they would just somehow embezzle the money for themselves. And then the celebrity artist is just kind of just left with, well, there's nothing I can do because the money
Yeah.
is just lost. So now the information's out there. Um, they don't rely on their business managers that much anymore. They're like, hey, let's
Hmm.
launch a fund and really start investing in things ourselves. So
Hmm.
yeah, with people with more information coming, more people becoming more financially literate and understanding really how money works and how you can make it work for you. I think we're in the midst of seeing kind of a renaissance in terms of financial thinking, and that's why we're seeing all these funds.
Yeah. Yeah. Number one, I'm a huge fan of Mac. We've actually grown to be good friends. I listened to that episode as well. So that was a really, really good one. And I'm not sure if you've been following the recent news, but he's been really doing some really amazing movements in DC. Really trying to change the laws of like having more investors in venture funds. So I think a big thing too, and everybody has their opinion, like what happened with Will Smith and everything, but there was one comment that like Will Smith said in like one of his Instagram videos, which I thought was a little inspirational, which was around like him finally being happy when he helped other people and created some social impact. So I think that's a huge theme as well that ties into your why, and also your mandate, and your legacy as well. So like if you can create some type of social change. So I love how like Mac is leaning in and really just he's actually changing history and transforming the venture ecosystem to provide more access, kind of through himself, sharing information, but also actually just going to Capitol Hill and changing the policies. I think that's kind of because that's going to have downstream positive impacts, right? So if you got more money that's available to support fund managers, those fund managers can deploy money faster and support more entrepreneurs, which is a benefit to America as well, right? I mean, small bit, our country is built on small businesses that have grown. So what Will Smith said was he was, obviously he had everything he wanted, and obviously there was a lot of things that went down recently, but he was just saying like, I felt happy for the first time when I was able to kind of help some people. Um, and that's a reminder too, you don't really know what everybody is going through behind the scenes, right? So you and I, we're on a call right now. We have this persona that we're carrying, and we don't really know what's really going on. So I think definitely like the mental health piece and like community, having a support system definitely helps. Because we've seen a lot of celebrities that, again, from an optics perspective, they had everything in the world. We had like Anthony Bourdain, we had Robin Williams. I mean, you would think, man, like these people are set. Like Anthony Bourdain, he gets to go to like South India and like try like food from these local joints, and he seems like he's got a jet setting lifestyle, but you don't really know what's going on. So, um, I just wonder if you have any comments on that in terms of like just the mental health. It's a grind, I mean, it's a tough business being an entrepreneur. There's loneliness, and I think a lot of times like the only thing you have is really community and a support system.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, man, you never know what people are going through. Like,
Hmm.
they could have the persona that everything's going right, and then
Yeah.
internally, like, they're struggling. And like for example, it's not mental health, but look at Chadwick Boseman. Like, literally, no one knew
Hmm.
what
Yeah.
he was going through until that all happened.
Hmm.
And so you just kind of have to be very sensitive and just be caring, understanding of people and just kind of where they are, and just don't assume from whatever you read on social media or
Yeah.
whatever image of them that you come up with your head, because most likely you're probably wrong.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah. I mean, being an entrepreneur is it's a lonely road.
Yeah.
And to go on that road, you got to be prepared for some hard times and some lonely moments. A lot
Hmm.
of moments of doubts where you're like, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. I'm not sure if I can keep going. But I think it's very important to have a community of people, and ideally, if you can have a community of people that are outside the industry that you work
Hmm.
in, that's even better because then it's not like in your free time you're still working because you're talking to people about
Yeah.
work. You're just talking to friends that just relate to you on like a very real level. And so, yeah,
Hmm.
if you can get a core group of friends around you that you can just go and relax and vent to, and therapy helps too. If you can
Hmm.
afford to find a therapist, just having someone that you can just like talk to, because even friends, like, you don't want to tarnish like whatever image that you think they have of you, so you won't tell them
Yeah.
everything. But like a therapist is like an unbiased party that you can kind
Yeah.
of unleash it all to, and they'll kind of help you work through it. So I definitely suggest um, going to therapy and talking to someone,
Hmm. Yeah.
especially if you're an entrepreneur. I
Hmm.
actually, I'm kind of starting to think that like maybe VC firms should like have a therapist on staff
Hmm.
to talk to
Yeah.
founders. I think that might be a new thing. I'm not sure if firms are doing
Hmm.
it, but I think it should be a new thing to have a therapist on staff for founders and their teams to
Hmm.
talk to, because building a company is not easy, and it's highly stressful.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, I think just having, even, like you said, having people outside of the industry to give you a break. Because even if you got a tribe and they're all like VCs, right? Like, hey, this is my crew of emerging managers. They're all, complaining about maybe their fund admin or, talking about portfolio ops. So, you're still, to your point, right? You're still working versus like, hey, you know what? Like, get away and get involved in the music community. And for me, that's always kind of been my mental health thing, just listening to some good music and kind of just unplugging. And I personally do that. So there's a point where like I could probably still stay up and like work for like another hour, but I just can't. Like I just really need to like disconnect, and I'll watch some like funny show or something that has nothing to do with work. And for me, it's like 1 p.m. Like, sorry, 1 a.m. Like after 1 a.m., I'm like, I just can't do any more work, and I'll just like watch TV and fall asleep. But like, it's tough to really just kind of be, just really, really focused on one thing for too long. Cause everybody's different, right? Some people can do it, but I have to have kind of like a little bit of a break and maybe just maybe just meet people for drinks or something like that, or do something
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah, I mean, I spent years, staying up to 3 or 4 a.m.
yeah.
working because of this, like, I have to do this. And like you
Hmm.
actually start feeling guilty if you have some free time and you're not using that free time
Hmm.
to work or build your company. I
Yeah.
think I've gotten to a much better space now of a life space. And like, no, I need some time to
Hmm.
unwind, because that's kind of where the creative magic happens for me,
Yeah.
of just periods where I'm actually just doing nothing, and that's
Yeah.
where the ideas come to me. And then like, well, two other things. One, I can relate to you heavy on the music front. Music is very important to me. I think I'm constantly listening to music. I would say I'm listening to music 80-90% of the day. And music kind of helps me get through stuff. If I'm like even feeling down, music typically just helps puts me in a much better mood. And then working out and like doing martial arts is like another big thing for me. It allows me to kind of work through my frustrations, and I look at it as a way to like, I'm training myself to be better, I guess, physically and mentally. But
Hmm.
that has helped a lot too. Like whenever I'm going through it, or just having just some issues where I'm feeling down or I'm frustrated. Typically just going to the gym and working out and boxing and doing Muay Thai, like that just helps a lot. And so I encourage really anybody,
Hmm.
especially founders, um, like, incorporate some. It doesn't have to be martial arts or anything like that, but like incorporate some exercise into your daily regimen. I
Hmm.
don't promise you'll feel 10 times better about just where things are going.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, I also agree on the wandering. perspective and the benefits of it. So like my wife will tell me to go downstairs and get some snacks or pick up something, and it normally would take like 5 minutes, but I'll just start thinking about stuff and like walk around the grocery store for like 30 minutes. But it helps sometimes because you start thinking about different ideas and some of the new things that I've done for some of the businesses I built, like they probably came out from just me walking around kind of really thinking about stuff, because during the day you've got your to-do list and you've got meeting after meeting, so you're kind of really in the zone. You don't have time to really block off to really just have creativity. And then I also just, many people, some of the listeners here have done this with me, but like at least once a week I kind of have like a collaboration time box where like I do meet people in person, and I'll block off an hour and just invest in that friendship and just try to build a connection with somebody, whether it's a new friend or, what's been really helpful with the fund manager accelerator is, you've known people from like maybe 6 months ago and they're finally in New York and they're like, hey Joel, like I'm in town, like, do you want to meet? Like, and that's what I'm doing with Rishi tomorrow, So I think when you can kind of like spend that time with people and really invest in that relationship, that compounds versus, there are people that are super, and I don't want to sound like a typical VC, but like the transactional mindset where it's like, what can I get out of this? I'm more excited. I really don't, usually have anything to sell, but I'm just more excited to be like catching up with a good person and really seeing how they're doing and maybe joking around with them, and I think that kind of vibe compounds, much more outsized opportunities than just kind of like, hey, how can I sell something, or hey, I'm doing this thing, and I'll give you this if you give me this. So I don't know about your perspective on just like patterns that you've seen in relationship building, um, maybe as an entrepreneur, and then also just kind of as now being in the fund manager ecosystem, just observations on just connecting and friendships.
Yeah, it's really dope, man. Like the thing I love about the venture capital space compared to the music industry, entertainment industry, is everyone is so open to like sharing resources and
Hmm.
connecting.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that people in the space are like, give me this, I'll connect you to this person if you give
Hmm.
me this. Like it's I've rarely have ever come across that. Where in
Hmm.
music, everybody holds everything to the chest and everyone's
Yeah.
like, I'll do this if you give me this,
Hmm.
but if you do this and you do a deal from this, I want my 20% cut. Like you don't see any of that in venture. At least I haven't seen it in my
Yeah.
experience. And so everyone's just been so open to connecting. One, and I think maybe it's definitely the resources of money where just it's very scarce in music, but in venture
Hmm.
capital, obviously, as we've seen with all these funds and deals that are happening, money
Yeah.
is pretty abundant. So no one's super pressed to
Hmm.
like try to negotiate anything. When it's just like, all right, here I'll do this. I'm sure it'll come back to me, down the
Yeah.
road, or if I need a connection, you'll do it. And so that's what I
Hmm.
love the most about this space. But also in terms of network, I've met some like really amazing people. Like I was actually just talking to um, my friend who works at TriNet. We're just playing Call of Duty together the other day. And then yeah, you meet people and you go out for a drink and you just build like a genuine like relationship.
Yeah.
That's not you're not really even talking about work. You're just bonding
Hmm.
as humans that just
Yeah.
happen to work together in the same space.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think
So I
those
think
kind of
that's a big
people,
part of networking too. It's like
yeah.
this kind of go into it and then just go into it with just building a relationship. Don't go
Hmm.
into it trying to sell something because people can see that a mile away.
They can. Yeah. And I genuinely get excited to catch up with people too. Like I'm actually looking forward to like hanging out with Rishi. He emailed me. I'm like, yeah, man, let's hang out. So it's just kind of like with that. That's also, I think another indicator is if you're, like when you see that person calling you, right? Like, are you smiling? Like you're like, man, I can't. This person's calling me. I got to pick this phone up. And that's kind of like the magical part of like relationship building. Just kind of that excitement to see what somebody else has been up to. I would say friendships too. True friendships, like you could and I have this. There's some people that I haven't spoken to in like 4 years. Um, and we catch up like where we left off. There was a childhood friend. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy, I knew him. We were like 10, 12 years old, and we played together when we were kids. And I literally reconnected with him about 3 months ago, and he sounds exactly the same. And like this guy is like a doc, like an ER doctor. He's got 2 kids. He's married. So what I would assumed he would be like this really mature, like maybe stuffy doctor, but he's like the 13-year-old kid that like I knew. Like he has like his person, like his. I feel like sometimes too. It's interesting. Like your conscience. I feel like for me, I'm still the same person I am when I was like 15 years old. I just know more, but like my being, I think is still the same. And I don't know if you feel that. Like think about yourself when you were like 13, 14 years old. Do you think like your kind of like inner person has changed?
Oh no, I think I'm still the same person. Like I was
Yeah.
just telling someone the other day, I was like, I feel like I'm still just a big kid.
Yeah.
Like my
That's how I am
core
too.
hasn't changed. I think I just know more, and obviously we operate in like a professional setting, but I
Yeah.
think my core hasn't changed at all. It's I'm
Yeah.
still just the nonchalant, chill guy who just like wants to have a good time and hang out with
Hmm.
friends. Like nothing's
Yeah.
really changed. Play video games. Like
Yeah.
nothing's changed from 15 to now.
I mean, but you do feel, you do have this knowledge, right? This empowering knowledge that you didn't have, right? There's just so many lessons in life that you pick up, and I would say even for me, like I just like I have like a lesson or two like that I just keep with me every year. I mean, one lesson for me is just there's some situations where like I just feel better just being a CEO and leading people versus like being like a partner. Obviously I'm married, so that's like the biggest partnership you can have, and that's worked. But I've just kind of finally told myself, like, look, it's better for me to kind of just run point on this and then find talented people to help me. Where like other people, like they work well with like a co-founder and a partner, and it's like 2 people kind of co-leading stuff. So that's kind of like one personal lesson for me, um, especially like in a like even like with a romantic relationship. I would say like one takeaway is just kind of like really be in tune with the other person, like understand kind of like where they're coming from. I think that's like definitely like something that I'm continuing to like build upon as a human being. Just relationships, like really seek to understand other people. Like you alluded to that earlier. Like really see what's going on. Like maybe if somebody's upset, they may not be a mean person. Maybe there was something that happened in their day that kind of gives them like an off day. But I don't know if there's like a couple nuggets of like lessons that you've picked up, like life lessons, maybe in 2022 that like you didn't know.
Trying to think any life lessons that I've learned. I definitely from 2020, I definitely learned
Hmm.
that like you literally like, and it goes back to our earlier conversation. Like you don't know what people are going through, and some people.
Yeah,
I learned in 2020 that I knew a lot of people that did not do well alone. That
yeah,
didn't do well like to themselves. I personally was one of those people that really enjoyed quarantine, but I know there was
hmm,
not a lot of people like me
yeah.
out into the world. Um,
Well, it doesn't impact your Call of Duty activities, right? I mean,
no,
it
it enhanced it.
you had like more people playing at the same stream, so
Yeah. It was
yeah,
actually a great time because I was able to connect.
yeah,
It allowed me to like really foster relationships that I felt were important to me, and
yeah.
so it actually got me back into the space of like regularly checking up on people and just asking how people's days are. And you'd be
Hmm.
surprised, like doing that is very important, and I think that's another part of like maintaining and fostering a relationship. It's more than just going to an event and meeting someone and getting their number, their LinkedIn, and then being like, okay, I know this person now because we're connected on LinkedIn, I have their phone number. But it's another thing to be able to just call or text them and then just check up on them. You don't ask for anything. It's like, yo, hey, I
Hmm.
thought about you, see what your thoughts were. on this, or I'm gonna go to the showcase now. I got a +1. You want to come with me?
Yeah.
Um, so I think there's a skill to maintaining and fostering relationships.
Hmm.
And I think it's just being open to connecting with people, being able to learn what people like, what people don't like. Like I think everyone is connected in some degree of
Yeah.
commonality. And I feel like one of my superpowers is being able to connect with anybody, just
Hmm.
finding a common ground with them on some level. Sometimes you might have to search hard for it, but there is a
Yeah.
common level with everybody where you guys can just relate and relate as human beings.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah. I mean, look, I
sometimes
mean,
I'll connect with people on my love of comic books.
yeah.
Sometimes I'll connect with people on my love of music. Sometimes
Hmm.
I'll connect with my love of like UFC. But there's a common level. If you just open, if you just everyone's just open to having a conversation with each other, you can find a common ground. And that gets, now I'm literally thinking about this as I'm talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is the core basis of Mech, of just like including everybody. There's
Hmm.
something there that everyone all together can unite on.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that has helped me, I would say also, and by the way, like I launched Sutton Capital in the heat of the pandemic. So that was like the prime, like the biggest spike during the pandemic. That's like when I launched. And, to your point, that really helped because a lot of people were seeking, I felt like some type of community. And, obviously people were used to going to networking events and trying to, scan the room and meet people, but that was gone. Right. So I think that definitely like was a catalyst for building community, and we were virtual first starting out. But yeah, I mean, I think just having that openness is important. And then one more thing I will say, just a learning or just kind of like an observation, because comparing me to the 15-year-old Joel, um, I'm more comfortable with like who I am versus I think like as a kid, we all have insecurities. We don't know. I came from like a strict Indian household where like, like my parents would like compare me to like, my friend that I was talking about, he's a doctor, right? He's like, oh, look at Avi, and he's a doctor. He's really successful. So I stopped kind of like comparing myself with like other people that were at a certain status in life. And I was a little more comfortable with like, who I am and kind of my journey. So I think that would be the biggest kind of like development I had as far as like just my being. And then I think every year, I don't really feel older, but I think it's really just you just kind of compound more knowledge, right? So I'm curious, like all the stuff that I'd accumulate when I'm like 80 years old, and you can just imagine, right? Because there's just so many different things that you learn, like there could be one year where you're not a fund manager, and then just over that one year, it's like, wow, you're like a completely different identity because now you're an asset allocator. Um, and there's just so much wisdom that comes from that pivot or tweak, like you said, right? Reinventing yourself. So I think it's kind of exciting to see what's in the future, what's ahead as we evolve as people. So
Yeah. I definitely
yeah.
have to agree with you on like discovering yourself and who you
Hmm.
are as a person. Once I like really discovered who I was or what
Hmm.
I like, or and felt comfortable just being who I am, what I like, it changed everything for me. It
Yeah.
actually gives you almost like a sense of invincibility,
Hmm.
because you hit a point where you feel very comfortable in who you are and what you like, and you're not
Yeah.
trying to fit in the mold of someone else that you may
Hmm.
necessarily not want to be like, but you're trying to fit into a certain group of
Hmm.
people. So once you hit
Yeah.
that point where you feel very comfortable, then you start attracting the people around you that fit into your life instead of trying to
Hmm.
like. I'm sure we've all experienced this where we've been trying to get people from outside circles to be our friends because they're the coolest person or
Yeah.
whoever, but then you actually become friends with them and you're like, I don't really want them in my life. This doesn't enhance my value of life.
Yeah.
And so once you really figure out who you are as a person, you get very
Hmm.
comfortable with who you are. Then you
Yeah.
start attracting the people into your life that matters.
Hmm. I totally agree. And
And
then I think the other piece is like, yeah, I mean, that goes along with just being selective with your time, right? I mean, time is the most valuable resource. So you don't really, I mean, if you think about it, like 6 p.m. when your day is over. You got like a few hours left until it's maybe time to go to bed, or you know, you're starting a new day over. So, you know, that time, that 3 or 4 hour time box, you know, hopefully we're all just kind of spending it selectively with the right people that are gonna you know, enrich our life and make life exciting. So
Exactly. You have to
but
be
yeah,
okay
man,
with just saying no to stuff sometimes.
I know. Yeah, that's a huge skill set too. Just saying no, because a lot of times we want to help people so much. You know, as humans, we want to help people, but you just can't. You can't do everything at all times. Um, you know, so you got to say no. But Bruce, this was amazing. I didn't expect this conversation to go this direction. I thought we were just going to talk about, you know, VC and culture and, you know, some trends and some creators and music. But you know, I felt like I'm in therapy right now. So appreciate you being my therapist for an hour. Start talking
Hey,
about
I
my
appreciate
childhood.
you. There was some stuff I like kind of came to realization about over this call. So this is really cool. But this is pop culture. It's like it's more, as I
Yeah,
was saying before, it's more than just
yeah,
music and entertainment. It's really just how we live our lives. And so
yeah.
sometimes like you have to go through these like life experiences to get
Hmm.
through that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, hey man, thanks for being generous with your time. I know we're over a few minutes, but appreciate you and hope to catch up soon in person at some point.
Oh, definitely. It's 100% happening. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. We'll catch up and I'll tell Rishi you said what's up.
Yeah, please do. Tell him to hit
Yeah.
me up. I definitely got to connect with him really soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll take care. Have a good one and see you soon, man.
You too, brother. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.